Mid-range price segment and a big battery. This is not unfamiliar territory for a company like Samsung. Now in 2020, Samsung launched the Galaxy F54, a phone that came with a 6000 mAh battery under the hood, and the endurance was good there, but the performance was not up to the mark courtesy of the Exynos 9611 chipset. Then in early 2021, Samsung launched the Galaxy F62. This time around, the phone packed a massive 7000 mAh battery under the hood, and the performance was good this time thanks to the Exynos 9825 chipset, but because that phone was plagued with thermal issues, the battery life wasn't all that great despite the phone having this large 7000 mAh battery. So once again, this is 2023, once again there's a Galaxy F series phone, big battery and an Exynos chipset. So can we expect solid battery life and solid performance on this device? Let's find out. Hello everyone, I'm Ania for Fiiber and this is my review of the Samsung Galaxy F54 5G. Now before we get on with the rest of the episode, consider hitting that red subscribe button for detailed tech videos and also turn on the bell so that you don't miss any of our latest updates. With that said, let's get started. The Galaxy F54 5G is powered by the 5nm Exynos 1380 chipset, and my review unit has 8GB RAM coupled with 256GB of onboard storage. Additionally, there's a large 6000 mAh battery under the hood which supports up to 25W fast wired charging. Here's a look at the Geekbench 6 score of the Galaxy F54, and the Exynos 1380 surprised me here with its performance. Not only is the single core score in the realm of other mid-range CPUs, but the dual core score is where the Exynos 1380 performed rather well in comparison to the likes of the Dimensity 7050 chipset, which is an up and coming chipset, and even the Snapdragon 778G chip that powers the Poco X5 Pro. Now a look at the Antutu score, and again a pretty decent performance considering we are talking about performance on a mid-range smartphone. Of course, a slightly higher number in the GPU score would have been better, but if you also see, while I ran the Antutu, the phone barely got warm or dropped a significant amount of battery, which is great. So overall, as I said, decent benchmark scores and right there on par with other mid-range chipsets in the price segment. But how does the benchmark performance translate into the real world? Quite good actually. Hear me out. So performance hasn't really been a strong suit of mid-range Samsung devices. I mean, apart from the Galaxy A series phones that came in between with the Snapdragon chips, for example the A52s with the Snapdragon 778G chips, or even the Galaxy M52 with again the Snapdragon 778G chip, those phones in the mid-range offered fabulous performance. But Exynos powered mid-range Samsung phones have been okayish, I would say, but not great. Now this phone changes the game altogether. First up, the thermal management on the Galaxy F54 is really good. I mean, you can push the phone to its limits and this phone does not heat. I mean, for instance, I played a lot of Call of Duty Mobile and Asphalt 9 on the Galaxy F54, and the gaming performance of the phone has been top-notch to say the least. You see, if you're playing a game at a stretch for about say 1 hour or so, you're playing Call of Duty or Asphalt 9, then a frame drop here and there can be expected, but if you see it overall, I think so the gaming performance is superb for its class. And of course, if the gaming performance is so good, be rest assured that the general performance is also very good. I was surprised to see the level of optimization this phone brings to the table. App opening times are fast, transitions and animations are buttery smooth, and RAM management, especially when it comes to holding apps running in the background or right where they were left, is solid. Battery life is also excellent. Now of course, if the phone has nailed the performance and the thermal management part, there's no way that the endurance could have gone wrong given there's a 6000 mAh battery under the hood. So on a consistent basis, I was getting 2 days of battery life. It was like when I would charge my phone at night after coming back from office, and from then onwards the phone would go 2 days straight on a single charge. It was like by the end of the second day I would once again charge my phone. So battery life has been awesome on the Galaxy F54. And for those was wondering about my use cases, I mostly use my phone for a lot of WhatsApp, texting and calling, Instagram and YouTube. I also use my phone as a hotspot at office. With that, I also game at night for at least an hour or so, and with this kind of usage, by the end of the second day, my Galaxy F54 still used to have about 15 to 20% of battery left. Now, as for the charging times, using a PD charger, the Galaxy F54 takes about 1.5 hours to go from 0 to 100%, and I think this is the only place where Samsung needs to work on, which is the charging times. But apart from that, battery life and performance has been really great on this device. Okay, so I'll briefly talk about the Galaxy F54's software here before touching down upon the other aspects of the phone. So the software on board is the tried and tested full version of One UI 5.1 atop Android 13. Naturally, nothing major is wrong here with the software performance wise or when it comes to the features. One UI is loaded to the brim and the software experience is top notch with no major concerns apart from one, that is bloatware. You see, the bloatware situation is pretty bad on the Galaxy F54. First up, when you load up the app drawer, there's a discover page where you get app recommendations and stuff. Apart from this, in the main app drawer itself, you can find numerous apps which you may find unnecessary. But the good thing is the pre-installed apps can be uninstalled and the discover page can be disabled from the settings. What can't be disabled is the glance on the lock screen. Again, for those who don't know, glance gives you curated wallpapers on your lock screen, which I personally don't like, plus it uses mobile data to show those random content. So previously on Samsung phones, I have noticed that you do get glance on the lock screen and we could disable it. Even in Xiaomi phones, I have seen that there's a full setting to disable glance on the lock screen, but on this phone, I could not disable it. I mean, the best I could do was uncheck all the topics and turn on keep your image on lock screen setting enabled with my wallpaper always enabled. This way, no longer I was getting the glance content, but for those wondering, glance still does not get disabled. In fact, a swipe to the right from the lock screen takes you to the glance screen. So yes, the overall bloatware situation is kind of a thing on the Galaxy F54 and the glance screen on the lock screen is also kind of annoying. But if you look at the overall software experience, the actual software experience, that is refined and polished, and having the full version of One UI 5.1 on board means features such as Samsung Pass, private share, secure folder, smart view and the likes are all present, and of course at the core there is Knox protection. And also the Galaxy F54 is sure to get 4 years of Android OS upgrades along with 5 years of security patch updates, so that is really great. The Samsung Galaxy F54 is one handy smartphone. Now, I won't call it light considering there's a big battery inside, but despite this big battery, I think the phone is reasonably slim and does not feel cumbersome to operate. What you get here is a plastic rear along with a plastic frame, although the rear looks quite classy and one can almost mistake it for glass. In fact, one can mistake it for the higher end Galaxy S23 series as well because of how the camera arrangement is done at the back. But yes, you don't get this color in the S23 series, guys. Speaking of which, this is the blue color of the phone and it looks pretty slick, but it's a smudge magnet, so cleaning it again and again gets a bit tough. The sides are curved, the buttons are very clicky and offer good tactile feedback. The haptic feedback is also very good. The fingerprint sensor is embedded in the power button, and in comparison to the optical fingerprint sensors that you get in phones in this price range usually, or even in the Galaxy A series phones for that matter, this physical fingerprint sensor works reliably and fast. At the bottom is the Type-C port along with a single speaker. Yes, this phone does not get a dual speaker setup. And the single speaker, by the way, is great for watching movies or watching videos that don't involve music, because if you're someone who likes listening to songs on their phone's speakers, well, you won't be mind blown here. And speaking of watching videos, the display on this phone is gorgeous. It's a 6.6 inches Full HD Plus Super AMOLED panel that refreshes at 120 Hz. Apart from this, the display also supports HDR video playback. So given you watch HDR content on YouTube or OTT apps such as Netflix, this one has got you covered. In terms of brightness as well, the display gets plenty bright for comfortable usage indoors as well as outdoors. Of course, being a Samsung display, content consumption is a visual treat. But again, if you want the best multimedia experience on the Galaxy F54, then a good pair of earphones or wireless TWS earbuds are definitely recommended. The Samsung Galaxy F54 features a triple rear camera at the back comprising a 108 megapixel primary shooter with OIS coupled with an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera and a 2 megapixel macro camera. For selfies, there's a 12 megapixel snapper situated in a center aligned hole punch. Now, one word to describe the 108 megapixel camera on the Galaxy F54 is superb. Granted, you give it good lighting. You see, the Galaxy F54 features a capable primary lens that's able to churn out detailed photos with vibrant color reproduction. Now, folks who prefer a more true to life source for their photos, well, this one might not appeal to you, but for me, the Galaxy F54 can click some Instagram worthy shots that you don't even need to edit again if there's good light. Especially the phone takes some amazing close-up photos that result in a natural background blur. Looks very eye pleasing. As for the 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, well, this one performs average. You see, comparing this particular shot, the primary and the ultra wide angle camera, in terms of color science and consistency, there is no problem. However, when it comes to the details and sharpness, there's a lot to be desired. In fact, if you see this shot, again taken from the ultra wide angle camera, there is scope for barrel distortion on the edges if you don't get the angle right. So that is something one would need to see while taking photos on the Galaxy F54 with the ultra wide angle lens. Now, coming to the photos taken at night or say photos captured in not so good lighting, the Galaxy F54 nails the exposure bit. To an extent, the details in a photo are also preserved. That is, unless and until you're not clicking a subject. For instance, if you look at this photo of mine, zoomed out, the exposure, highlights and the shadows and the colors look good. However, once you zoom in and you see the details in the photo look soft. The same story is repeated in other photos as well. Now, in terms of capturing selfies, daylight as well as night performance is good when it comes to color reproduction in shots. However, again, when it comes to the details in photos taken at night, slight tuning is definitely needed. Maybe a future software patch would help. So the best part about Samsung phones is that you get 4K recording on both the front and rear camera. This is a mid-range Samsung phone, and even high-end phones from other brands, they don't have 4K recording at the front, but this phone does give you that option. So how does the quality look like, guys? I think so the Galaxy F54 records some amazing front-facing video. Now my question to you is, like, how many of you record 4K videos from the front? I think so it's good to have an option rather than not having it all together. So this is the kind of 4K videos that you can record from the front. I think the colors look great. This is the kind of HDR performance that you can expect. I'm shooting against the sun right now. And how does my audio sound? How do the colors look like? Let me know everything in the comments. So guys, right now I'm shooting from the rear camera of the Galaxy F54 5G. I'm shooting around the evening time. This is the main camera, 4K 30 FPS recording. So you're getting OIS on this main camera, and this is the kind of quality that you can expect. Of course, as you can see, I've seen the quality on my laptop also. I've recorded a bunch of videos, and I think so the Galaxy F54 5G does a fabulous job when it comes to the colors, dealing with the shadows and the highlights in the video. Of course, I was expecting the OIS to be slightly better than what it is right now for the 4K recording, but I think so overall in terms of video recording, the Galaxy F54 does a pretty good job. But you tell me, how does the quality look like? How does my audio sound? How does the colors look? How does the contrast in videos look? You can see the sun right behind. So this is the kind of performance that you're getting on the F54. Let me know your thoughts about the rear video recording capabilities of the F54 in the comments. And next up is the front-facing video recording. Summing up, the Galaxy F54 focuses on two key pillars: big battery life and camera performance. So when it comes to the battery life, the Galaxy F54 delivers through and through. In fact, as I pointed out, the phone performs pretty solid in a variety of scenarios, all while keeping the thermals in check. So Exynos chip plus big battery, Samsung has definitely nailed it here. Now, as for the camera performance, to an extent, one can say that the company has done a fine job. You see, the daylight performance is great, but nighttime photography could have been better, especially when you look at the details in the photos that I showed you. Now, at the time of recording this video, I don't have the price of the Galaxy F54, the official price, but leaks are pointing out that the starting price of the phone could be about 28,500. Now, I think that with card offers and discounts, if you are able to bag a deal on the Galaxy F54 for about 25,000 rupees, I think that would be a good offer. Fiiber rates the Galaxy F54 an 8 out of 10, but what are your thoughts about this phone? Let me know in the comments. And as always, for all the latest in tech, stay tuned to Fiiber. I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you for watching.